12 minutes into 9 a.m. in Central African time. Welcome to the Journal. For 3 days, the Market Theatre in Johannesburg becomes a meeting point for African stories, ideas, and memory as the Kamba Pan-African Theatre Festival returns from today, as you and I speak, until Monday, the 22nd of August. Now, in its third year, as we understand it, this is a festival that is bringing together theatre, music, film, workshops, and a colloquium with artists and thinkers that are engaging in this particular theme for this year: memory against forgetting. It's such a beautiful and very, very important theme. And as we understand it, it is inspired by Milan Kundera's idea of the struggle between memory and forgetting. This is a theme that speaks to something much bigger than the stage, and looks at, rather interrogates, how African societies remember their histories and carry them across the generations, as you and I speak. So let's have the conversation. We've got Bobby Rodwell joining me in his capacity as curator of the Kamba Pan-African Theatre Festival on the line with me. Welcome to the program. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about the history of this festival. As I've mentioned, 3 years in, please tell us a little bit about what underpinned its genesis 3 years ago.
Yes, it started in 2024, and I am a co-curator together with Lesego Rampolokeng. We have always worked in a space that brings politics, history, and art together, and we felt that there was a gap in terms of addressing Pan-Africanism and also the importance of South Africans making more contact with the continent. We are all aware of what is happening at the moment in South Africa, and we wanted to bring our SADC, make connections with SADC neighbors. Kamba, as your audience who speak Kiswahili know, it means tying together, and normally with sisal rope. So that's how Kamba came together. We now don't focus only on SADC countries. We have a focus this year on Algeria, on Sudan, on Kenya. So that's how it came together. But the idea also is to address the issue of Pan-Africanism beyond the T-shirt, and to delve deeply into what makes us Pan-Africanists and how we connect with the continent and how we can use art to make sense of our reality.
Right.
And so we started in 2024 with the Market Theatre as a partner, and we still run at the Market Theatre every year.
The Market Theatre is a space that's filled with a lot of character, and I wanted to speak to you particularly about bringing the various disciplines together and how that is shaping the festival in terms of the themes that it's trying to really put forth at this time. Music, film, and other disciplines. Let's talk about how you're going to be integrating all of that into one wonderful Pan-African festival, as it were.
Yes, we had a lot of debate about the name of the festival because it is a Kamba Pan-African Theatre Festival. But we decided that everything starts with storytelling. So we were going to use we were going to use the word theatre. But to be honest, we don't see a very big difference between how you tell the story. We are all storytellers, and that's the aim of the festival. So by bringing in film, it's very important because we can really cut across borders in the way that perhaps sometimes theatre doesn't do, because it's very much more immediate. So that's how we brought in film. And then Lesego Rampholo King is a poet, a South African poet. So we've always had the poetry and music angle to it. Again, it's a very important vehicle. So all the various different styles and platforms that we use come together in a Pan-Africanist expression. We also have workshops, and we take the workshops very seriously. This year we've got a workshop on language, what languages we use on stage and in our art, and interrogating the use of colonial languages. We've also got a workshop on learning traditional isiZulu chants. So we've got a variety of workshops, and we've also got play readings. You know, it's also 30 years after the TRC was launched in 1996. So we're asking about the unfinished business of the TRC, and there are 2 new plays that are being read with the audience. Audience gives their feedback, and the playwrights develop their plays from there. So it's kind of like it's integrating all the different forms, which we feel very strongly should be integrated. I come from a theatre background, but I also make documentary films. And as I said, Lesego comes from a poetry background. So our work has always been to integrate different forms.
That is really necessary at this time to really cross-pollinate in that manner, Bobby. But let's talk about perhaps as we continue to trace the history of Kamba, how has the festival perhaps evolved, if that's even the right term at this time, to make this program for 2026 not better, but to honor the work as it began 3 years ago, and perhaps a continuity of that work in the last 3 years?
You know, it's hard to really sort of analyze it deeply because it is only 3 years. You know, in year 1, we were just doing what we thought would work. But we've given it a lot of thought in the past 2 years, and certainly in this year, we've been picking up on themes. It's 50 years since the 1976 uprising. It's 30 years since the TRC was launched. It's 70 years since women marched on Parliament. So what we are trying to do is bring in historical themes into the festival each year. And those are the historical themes that we're looking at this year. But what we also have done and developed is when we show films, we also have dialogue with solidarity groups. For example, we showed a soundtrack to a coup d'etat in 2025, and then we had a meeting with the Congolese solidarity campaign in South Africa. So we use art as a way of looking at the reality of the situation that exists on our continent. So how has it developed? I think we've made a reach, as I was saying, beyond SADC countries. This year has been very difficult because of the situation. To bring a lot of people to South Africa, but we've made a lot of contact with Algeria, Ethiopia, etc. So, and looking at what styles are prominent in other countries. For example, this year we are bringing a play from Kenya, from the Kenya International Festival of Theatre. In our first year, we brought a play from Zimbabwe, second year from Mozambique, and now we bring the play from Kenya. And it's quite interesting that our different countries have very different styles of theatre. And that's something that we are learning from and developing as we go along. So, yeah.
That is a wonderful thing. In fact, I'd like us to take a break and then delve deeper into this theme, because there's something in this theme that I think is going to resonate for the next few decades, to be perfectly honest. Memory against forgetting is the big theme for the Kamba festival, as we noted. Let's take a break.
Drivers, that smoke ahead is not just smoke. It's a wall, thick, blinding, and deadly. Never drive into felt fire smoke crossing the highway. You won't see stopped vehicles until it's too late. Pull over, turn on your hazards, wait it out. One decision can save lives, including yours. See and be seen this winter. Brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
Women who lead, women who lift, women who inspire.
African woman.
This is Women's Month on Channel Africa. The sound of Africa is evolving. Experience our new mobile app. Free to download, free to connect. Every headline has a human side. The Journal with Matseko Musito on the African perspective.
Wonderful to have you back with us at 22 minutes into 9 a.m. in Central African Time. We continue to continue discussions, that is, with the curator of the Kamba Pan-African Theatre Festival that's scheduled to take place from today here in Johannesburg. Bobby Rodwell is on the line with me. Bobby, let's talk about the theme, memory against forgetting. I'd like to take a bit of a deep dive with you, honoring this theme and get an understanding of perhaps whose stories we are in danger of forgetting. So when we talk about African history and how, the arts, as you note them, are helping those stories back into the conversations, whose stories are we at risk at this time on the African continent of actually forgetting?
Well, I think we should go back to the history of Pan-Africanism. I think it was the most important ideological thread across the 54 countries on our continent. And one can see that in the so-called post-colonial era, there was a very deliberate plan to remove leaders who in any way were fighting for a Pan-African consciousness across the continent. And we go back to the assassination of Patrice Lumumba in 1961. We go back to the assassination of Eduardo Mondlane from Mozambique in 1969. We go back to Thomas Sankara and many more leaders who were talking about a united continent. So I think that it's very important that we go back to that history and understand what happened in this period, and look also towards leaders like Traoré in Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger, who are very much leading the way towards bringing back a united continent, a Pan-Africanist continent. So I think that there's a lot of history that we stand to lose because of the way that history has been written on this continent. There's so many aspects to the wealth of this continent from a cultural point of view that is just not written. I mean, the fact that there must be perhaps 3,000 languages on this continent, that's never been regarded as a particular wealth of the continent. And there's storytellers across the continent who are telling amazing stories, and we need to capture that because it's a matter of theatre is archive or art is archive. We are, as artists, we are archiving history, and I think that that's a particular emphasis within Kamba Pan-African Theatre Festival, that we are not just making art, we are archiving and we are holding the history of the continent in what we are doing on a very small level. At this point, we don't overestimate what our reach, but I think that the artists that come together are very much within that mold of redefining, looking at the past, looking at memory against forgetting. We can't forget. And in South Africa, as I was mentioning, we have all these anniversaries this year. Do we really remember those days? Do we really remember that history? Or do we just celebrate? So that's something that we are interrogating as well. It's also the anniversary of the Marikana massacre. And there's a group called Pupo Ugabiko who are doing a show about Marikana.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's how we bring the memory back. Yes, yeah. So in all of the pieces that we do, we look at how we can use art to speak about history. For example, we are going to be showing Sudan Remember Us, that looks at the situation in Sudan. And we have a talk with the Sudan Support South Africa group. So within the way in which we curate it is that every element of the theatre needs to be challenging history and challenging identity and looking at memory and contributing towards rewriting of history.
There's something just so wholesome about that entire response. And thank you for those perspectives, Bobby, just around, I think beyond the memory or as part of the memory, it is also about a remembrance of, to remind us of the wealth that we have on the continent. You mentioned the fact that we don't even see our own languages as part of that wealth. Thank you for that perspective. But perhaps as we wrap up, I'm tempted to ask you who this Pan-African, particular Pan-African Theatre Festival is designed for. But perhaps I'll ask it this way. And I like that example of Ipopoligabigo, who it's an ensemble of very young people that are bringing back all those themes of memory through music. But how do we then get young Africans to engage with histories in this manner and through the festival, as it were?
Well, a funny story. Ipupo phoned me to say that we need to have a DJ who plays vinyl and plays jazz, and he's going to bring a completely different crowd. And I think they fell short of saying, younger crowd. But to answer your question, we actually get an incredible cross-section of people in terms of ages, races, political positions, etc. So the festival has started really attracting a great cross-section of people. But we do need to get a lot more young people. And when you take a group like Ipupo, they are speaking to young people, and they are, as you say, bringing these incredible histories and popularizing them with young people. And I think that when you were asking me how the festival's growing, I think that that's something that we need to grow, is a very strong youth thread. Not that we don't already have it, and we certainly have youth workshops, etc. So we're just trying to get a bit broader. But what we're also doing is starting Kamba on the road. And our first gig would be in the Northern Cape, in a small town, in a festival in a park. So we are wanting to move our festival out. We're also launching an installation which is called Bioscope Beyond Borders. And that is designed to take film and to take issues further out than the Market Theatre in Johannesburg. As much as we're blessed to have that space,
Right.
the Market Theatre has been extremely generous, And
Absolutely.
we have 4 theatres.
Okay.
We have
Bobby,
4 theatres to spread ourselves out, so it's wonderful.
It really is wonderful, and you've curated it really with so much thought, and we appreciate that. It takes place from today until Monday, the 22nd of August. That's the Kamba Pan-African Theatre Festival, and Bobby Rodwell is the curator of this particular wonderful theatre festival, as it were. Bobby, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we will see you in the next couple of days. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, it is 9:31, which means it's time for us to check in with the latest in sports. We say a very good morning to Figile Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Maseko. Let's start off with football news this hour. The South African Football Association, SAFA, is stepping up its efforts in populating its national playing philosophy in the footballing structures in the country to ensure that there's uniformity in how the local game is played. This, according to SAFA Technical Director Molefi Ntseki, as he reveals that they are continuing where his predecessor, Dr. Walter Steenbok, left. Ntseki says the focus now is on modernizing their playing philosophy as they target to have a playing identity at all levels of the game.
So what we are doing now is to revisit the SAFA playing philosophy and also to modernize the contents of this document, because football evolves almost every day. We just came back from the World Cup. There were new trends that were discovered during this World Cup. So what we are doing currently, we are working on the national playing philosophy just to modernize and bring into it what are the current trends in player selection, player scouting.
With the country's top three football teams, Orlando Pirates, Mamelodi Sundowns and Kaizer Chiefs, coached by foreigners, implementing the philosophy at the top won't work. That's why Ntseki says there will be more emphasis, even at academy and amateur level, on the national playing philosophy.
We are a possession-based type of a team. And also when you talk of a possession-based type of a team, that is in the playing philosophy. And whoever has to take on a national team or an academy or any club in the country, the idea is for us to populate this national playing philosophy so that it becomes easy for players that comes into the national team to adapt with a clear understanding of what is expected of them technically, physically, so that it doesn't take time. Because
in athletics, an English athletics coach and former gold medalist reported by the media as missing is serving a prison sentence in Morocco for sexually assaulting a minor. Leon Baptiste, who was coaching a club of top British track athletes in the run-up to the Summers Commonwealth Games and European Championships, suddenly went off the grid more than 3 months ago. Neither UK Athletics, for whom he worked as a consultant sprinting coach, nor the sprinters he coached knew why he was out of contact. In May, Baptiste sent the group of athletes he coached a short message saying he would be absent from training for a while. For any sports stories you'd like